Masculinity, the term that gets bounced around and never sits still. With an endless amount of spin-offs, you eventually reach a point where you ask, what does masculinity actually mean? To cut a long story short, masculinity is a framework or a set of expectations which over time has understood what it means to be a man, recognising natural tendencies born out of biology and shaping them into behaviours, traits and values which seek to benefit men and society as a whole. Over time, with each successive generation, it undergoes evolution, adapting its definition of itself. Nonetheless, it retains the foundational essence, the enduring embrace of qualities like strength, courage and emotional resilience. And if you hadn't noticed already, at no point did being toxic play a part in it. In ancient tribal cultures, the seasoned elders, fathers and brave warriors held pivotal roles in moulding young boys into the leaders of tomorrow. By instilling vital behaviours, they safeguarded the tribe's existence. These teachings didn't just shape individual boys, but also enhanced the overall prosperity of the entire tribe. As boys grew, they embraced values like protecting and supporting their family and community. They developed their ability to face challenges with resilience and concentration, recognizing the significance of personal and collective welfare. A man embodying these qualities became a beacon of masculinity, inspiring others to follow suit. However, fast forward 10,000 years, masculinity no longer adheres to a one-size-fits-all concept. Instead, it comprises a combination of traits that define men. Strength, resilience, courage, and responsibility are dynamic attributes that can adapt to different times and situations. Embracing these qualities empowers a man to exist independently while navigating various challenges that life presents. For centuries, these qualities have served men well. They've built nations, explored the unknown, and provided for families. It's essential to acknowledge the positive contributions that masculinity has made throughout history. Yet here we are, faced with a world which is slowly turning its back on masculinity. A prime reason for this is the shifting perspective of how masculinity is described. Examining the chart created by Tom Golden for the Center for Male Psychology, it becomes evident that there was a transition from a relatively neutral perception of masculinity until 2003, where there was a significant and abrupt decline, indicating a negative association of masculinity with disdain for homosexuals, power over women and a playboy mentality. But here is where things have gone totally wrong. Instead of calling undeniably negative behaviours such as being violent, homophobic, misogynistic and just general unpleasantries as isolated and separate to masculinity, they are instead conflated and lumped in with masculinity as a whole. But that's not all. When the going gets tough, out comes a good-for-nothing term, toxic masculinity, which by all accounts has nothing predictive to the table, besides insulting men by pushing unfair generalizations. Nevertheless, back to the main point, we're heading in a direction where there appears to be a direct and coordinated attempt to hijack the term masculinity by refusing to separate the idea that men can do bad things and instead proposing that masculinity, which resides in all men, has something inherently wrong with it and requires an overhaul or a straight up purging. Now, a response to what I've just said could be that, oh, masculinity isn't all bad, but only when it gets taken to its extreme does it become toxic masculinity, and therefore something we should discourage. However, this is exactly my point. By suggesting toxic masculinity is in some way an extension of masculinity, we accept masculinity as an aspect which is toxic. It would be like ordering soup and the waiter going, there is some poison in it. But don't fret, it's only at the bottom. Like any sane person, you wouldn't want it at all. The real shame here is that there is incredibly strong research to suggest that masculinity, when defined as a number of things, is in fact beneficial to men and can be linked to lower depression. At a time where suicide remains the leading cause of death in men under 50, it is truly baffling as to why the narrative is so hell-bent of stripping men of something which could serve beneficial to their livelihood. For myself on a personal level, it seems the water of masculinity that was once clear has been muddied and as a result fundamentally corrupted. We are in a situation where the irresponsible use of the term toxic masculinity and an unrelenting attack on masculinity has caused a wave of anxiety that's created a void in many men. Lost at sea, they are now being picked up by entirely the wrong people. But hey, I'll save that for another video. So if you're liking what I say and want to be a part of something which I aim will be for the betterment of boys and men, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. To sum it up, masculinity is a thought process. It's about being aware of the biological and psychological dispositions that men possess and manifesting them in an optimal manner to maximize their well-being. It isn't about appearances and suppressing the desire to cry or not to go to the doctor. It also isn't all about being the alpha male and ensuring that you dominate other men and women at any cost. Masculinity as a concept remains most potent when it exists in a fluid concept, championed by men for the sake of future generations of boys and men, so they can reign in the benefits like so many of their forefathers. But this can only happen if there is a culture of masculinity which is cultivated in a positive light and reinforced by the right people, behaviours and values. The moment masculinity becomes the enemy, so will boys and men tremble in its shadow.